Hi, this is Demi Lovato. Amazing.
You're listening to Authenticity Radio.
Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.
Baby, I'm not like the rest. Don't wanna break your heart. Wanna give your heart a break. I know you're scared it's wrong. Like you might make a mistake. There's just one life to live, and there's no time to wait. So let me give your heart a break. Give your heart a break. Let me give your heart a break. Your heart a break. Oh, yeah.
And now, your host, who has the hospitality of a fat and jolly innkeeper, Slade Suter.
Choo-choo train, all that shining like gold.
This is Slade Suter broadcasting from Authenticity Radio Studios in Barcelona, Spain.
You just a no good woman, I don't want to see you.
Today we have a special guest who has transformed his life into something quite unique. He, in my words, would be a true philanthropist. Jeff Rasley, welcome to you.
Thank you, Slade. Very good to be with you, speaking here all the way across the Atlantic in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay, so you are back in the stateside. So we just let everyone know that what we're going to be referring to, that you are now living back in the States. Is that correct?
Yeah, my home has been Indianapolis since 1977. So this is my home, and what you're referring to takes place in Nepal, where I've been many times since 1995.
Let's start where everything shifted for you. You went mountain climbing. You went trekking. Is that correct?
Yes. In 1995, I went to Nepal for the first time and trekked along the Mount Everest Base Camp Trail and really fell in love with the magnificence of the mountains and the culture and the people who live up in the high Himalayas. And having spent most of my life in Indiana, which is at sea level, our highest point is about 900 feet. It was really a spectacular experience to be up in the highest mountains of the world. So I decided I wanted to learn how to do mountaineering and did that and began regularly going on mountaineering expeditions back in the Himalayas each year.
One of those expeditions turned out to be a tragedy.
Yeah, in 1999, my mountaineering group was caught in an avalanche, and 3 people who were not in our group but were with another group, and they were 3 Nepalese porters working for this other mountaineering group, were killed. My group got divided. Half of our group was trapped behind the avalanche. I was with the members who were ahead of it, and we ran to escape it. We did. None of us were hurt. And our guide, our Nepali guide, through incredible courage and toughness, was able to go back up through the avalanche and help rescue the other members of our group. And so everyone in our bunch came out alive. One person had some minor injuries, but nothing major. But 3 Nepalese porters were killed. And that began a process for me that took a few years to process what had happened and to think through, does this make any sense? Having these local guys risking their lives so that we Europeans and Americans could go adventuring. And eventually, in 2003, I was back in Nepal and was trekking with Sir Edmund Hillary's family because it was the 50-year celebration of the 1953 first summit of Mount Everest by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Sherpa Norgay. And I really was inspired by him, Hillary, as a model, because he had, after becoming world famous, had spent most of the rest of his life devoted to helping the Sherpa people improve their standard of living through building schools, hydroelectric projects, medical clinics in the high Himalayas where the Sherpas live. So that's how I reached the conclusion that the way to process what had happened in that 1999 tragedy to move forward is I would again start organizing mountaineering and trekking expeditions, bring friends from the West to experience this beautiful land and wonderful culture, and also to do projects like Hillary had done, raise money for to benefit the local people.
You know, Jeff, I think that I think it would benefit our listeners for them to get a sense of what you did. Okay, so you went back there in Nepal, and you started to work in a Basa village in 2007.
Well, if you don't mind, to go back a little bit, after that avalanche in '99, I didn't go back to Nepal until 2003, and I really thought that I'm done with this, that the immediate effect, which lasted a few years, was I don't want to go back there. I don't want to experience that again. I don't want to put other people's lives at risk to slake my desire for adventure.
Okay, so those 3 years, you came to the conclusion that you were done. You closed the door on this type of adventure.
Yeah. Instead, I went on solo kayaking expeditions in the South Pacific.
I guess adventure just must be flowing in your blood, Jeff.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't done with adventure. I just went from snowy, icy mountain peaks to nice, warm, sandy beaches. What happened is after 2000, and in 2003, when I was back there for the what they called the Jubilee celebration of the first summit of Mount Everest, the country of Nepal had descended into civil war and was having a very rough time. Tourism had become its second largest industry after agriculture, and tourists had stopped coming because of the civil war. So the king of Nepal and Sir Edmund Hillary got together, and they were able to negotiate a treaty with the Maoist rebels that there would be no fighting for some period of time to allow this Jubilee celebration. And then they put out a call to mountaineers and trekkers to come back to Nepal. It would be safe, celebrate, and also put money into the economy. Mm-hmm. So I decided I would go back for that reason, and I wanted to do some research and writing about how 50 years of exposure to Westerners affected the Sherpa culture. So I just trekked around, interviewed people, spent time with the Hillarys, wrote my article, and was inspired by Hillary and my own thoughts about that. And so I started little fundraising efforts, primarily through my church, and organized small groups to go to trekking or climbing, and each time I would go with the group, we would bring money to donate to through an agency, an NGO that I had become familiar with, and we'd bring clothes for children, orphanages, books for schools, that kind of thing. What then changed the direction somewhat was I began using a trekking company, an outfitter company called Adventure Geotreks, and the first time I used that company was in 2006. And the owner of the company is a guy named Niru Rai, and Niru and I got to be friends, and he told me about his little village called Basa Village in a remote area of Nepal. And
so this is a local man you're referring to, is that correct? This is somebody that's actually living there. Okay.
Correct. He lives in Kathmandu now, but he grew up in this little village, and he had successfully built this trekking company. And the people that he hired to work as the porters, the cooks, the guides, mostly came from his home village. So having gone on a couple expeditions with these guys from Basa and getting to know Niru quite well, I felt like I sort of knew this village, but I'd never been there. And in 2007 then, Niru asked if I would help raise money for the village school because it had 3 grades and they wanted to expand the school to have a 4th and a 5th grade. And they needed money for materials for the building, and they needed money to pay the teachers' salaries. So I agreed to do that, and he told me that $5,000 would pay for the materials and teachers' salaries for 3 years. And in Nepal, after 3 years, the government will take over and pay salaries of teachers for village schools. They don't. For
5,000?
They don't.
5,000 was complete for materials and 3 years of salaries.
Yeah, 2 teacher salaries, correct. The teachers are paid about $40 per month.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah. So for that small amount, I agreed and raised the money successfully. And then Niru and I thought it would be a cool idea if we organized a trek to Basa and invited the donors, because there were about 30 people who gave money, any of them who would like to trek to Basa. And of course I was very interested in seeing the village since I hadn't been there. So we organized that trek, and it turned into one of the strangest experiences I'd ever had in Nepal. And
well, please tell.
The trek was sort of like under a black cloud because we originally had 10 members who were going to go. By the time we left the States, we were down to 6 members, 4 of them for various reasons: an auto accident, loss of funding, gaining 50 pounds.
That could do it.
And so we ended up with 6 of us starting off, and only 3 of us actually made it to Basa, because one guy had an old knee injury that kicked up, another guy pulled a groin muscle, and a third guy just sort of went crazy temporarily and said, "This is too much, this is too hard, I quit," and just gave up. And the problems, once we got to Nepal, started because the plane we were supposed to fly on up into the mountains, the flight was canceled because there was a plane crash.